Alright, I'm back. Just took a little break to have a drink, clear my throat, rested a little, and since there's not much left to it, I think I'm going to jam this all into one episode, if I can. The rebel leader. The sun is setting. The blood-red sky quavers in the hot smoke from the fires raging throughout the city. You cannot help but recall a passage from the lives of the twins, one of the many pages mother used to quote when you were a child. And the elder said, "Lo, I have cast a flame into the world, and I shall guard it until it begins to blaze." Could this passage be referring to today? You lead your followers to the Empire Square. You walk around rubble past abandoned carriages and unfinished barricades. There have clearly been clashes here recently. The dust of the departed is still rising into the sky. Thousands fill the square before the chancellery. Well over half the commoners of Anisote. The chancellery has been under rebel control since noon. All imperial officials either fled or were torn apart by the mob. Scraps of rumors and gossip reach your ears as you move closer. Did you hear what happened at the Great Tree? It's the Inquisitors. They just started slaughtering folks. They grabbed them swords or theirs and started killing unarmed people. Leonard's procession made it into the temple. There was a sign from the twins. All lies. The twins got angry and destroyed them all under the tree. The temple's gone, I tells you. Gone for good. The crowd is on edge, and a dispute could explode into a brawl. A voice from the chancellery stairs calls for another people's court. The mob turns as one. Several Lastro rebels drag a handful of well-dressed nobles out onto the steps and force them to their knees. The leader of the executioners is a preacher with a mane of unkempt hair and the wide eyes of a lunatic. This guy looks like me. Almost. I'm more handsome. Father Fuad, a rambling old preacher who joined the last row as an insurgent. The younger, he speaks through us, he does. He gave us the power of his law, the power to punish our enemies, to execute them. Anyone who stands in our way is an enemy of the twins themselves. People, it's time to judge these enemies of the simple folk. What is your sentence? The mob roars so loudly the square shakes. Death! Through death! The Lastro rebels ready their guns. One of the captive gets to his feet and speaks out defiantly. Fredlik El Raberis. Oh, this is the guy who asked us to look into the witch case. That good witch girl in the village of Salmonella? You dare call this pathetic freak show a people's court? You don't have the power. You never have and you never will. You think you can build the law of the twins? Bah! We'll come back and we'll make you pay. The aged nobleman's last words are drowned out by a thunderous volley of gunfire. One by one, the nobles collapse, their bodies pierced by bullets. They remain where they fall. The mob gasps in amazement. There can be no doubt the People's Court has the power to mete out through death at will. This is what will happen to anyone who dares to oppose us. All hail the revolt. All hail our leader. All hail Sophia. Sophia's gonna lead us. She's gonna fend off the Legion. She's gonna bring justice, first to Anisote, then to the whole Empire. She's gonna tear down the old ways and wipe all the tyrants and nobles from the face of the world. The mob explodes into an ecstatic chant. They shout one word over and over again. Sophia, Sophia. The enormous throng bellows wildly, eager to see the face of its leader. Okay, we could do this. You give Sophia your full support so she can unite and lead the people, or you stay away from the mob and watch events unfold without getting involved. Is there any reason to not overthrow Sophia? take control of the revolt. Let's see our destinies. We have to lead the revolt, right? I think we do. Uh-oh. Well, what is the other condition? Nobles. We don't have the support of the nobles. And with this, we won't gain it. We will just get Sophia to lead the revolt. But if we don't, it will probably end up in the massacre. But I think that is our only option. So either way, it doesn't matter if we help Sophia or not. So do not get involved. And let's see if we can lead the revolt. You keep your men away from the crowd and observe the situation from afar. This matter will be decided without your interference. The door of the chancellery swings open, and Sophia emerges before the thousands of people gathered in the square. Her silhouette seems to blaze in the light of the setting sun. She raises a clenched fist in the air, demanding silence. The enormous crowd instantly ceases its murmuring. The voice of the leader of the revolt rings with frigid fury. People of Anisote, today is not only the day we took up arms and cast off our shackles. Today is the first day of a new era. We will begin by taking back our city. We will eliminate anyone who dares to stand in our way. Then, we will declare war against the old regime, against the entire empire. No mercy. Upon hearing these words, even the most frantic rebels fall silent. A frightened murmur ripples through the crowd. Is Sophia asking them to take on the entire world? Sophia lifts her hand high. Her eyes gleam with yellow light. The mob involuntarily grows quiet and watches its leader, rapt with attention. Sophia's golden glow is reflected in thousands of eyes. That's right. War. No mercy. Nobles, defenders of the old faith, the tyrants of the old regime, they will all be executed by the people's court. Every single enemy of the Anisote revolt will be eliminated. Arm yourselves. Find and execute our enemies before the legion reaches the city. And then, when the bell tolls, go to the walls. We will unite the entire city and take our freedom by force. The people echo Sophia's cry. Artisans, merchants, peasants from the outskirts of Anisote, they all take up arms and join the ranks of the last row. The crowd storms the streets, ready to unleash its wrath against temples and noble houses alike. You lead your supporters out of the square. The time for the last battle has come. The watchmen inform you that the legion is only a few hours away. Will the outcome of the revolt be decided in combat, or is there a peaceful solution? It all depends on the actions you take in the coming hours. Is it over or not? That's the question, really. Heart and home. We need one more noble thing. But I guess we cannot overthrow Sophia anymore. But we can also do it if we quelch the revolt. Let's see. While you are busy preparing, night falls over on his... Oh, they will burn my house. Night falls over Anisote. The darkness brings disorder, lawlessness, and chaos. In the dark, madmen, robbers, and looters flood the city. These gangs have no interest in the fate of the Empire or the revolt. They see the uprising as a sign that the end of the world is nigh. And if the breath of the gods is at hand, then everything is permitted. Upon hearing reports of gangs roaming the streets, you sense danger. What is to stop them from attacking your home? Your people may need you, but you will never abandon your family. Taking a squad of loyal men with you, you hurry to your home district. Your instinct proves to be correct. Even before reaching your street, You smell smoke. Sir Tibor's school is ablaze. The old man was hurled out a third-story window and impaled on the sharp spikes of the gate below. Ashes from dozens of burning books blanket the ground like black snow. Thomas's old house lies in ruins. Breathless, you run up the street. Your man can barely keep up with you. You hope you are not too late. You round the last turn. There it is, the gate of your ancestral home. You see dozens of figures approaching by the light of the burning houses. The tugs are close, too close. You run through the gate and into the house. Your men stay to guard the outside. You hastily open the door. Your father is on the doorstep, sword in hand. He recognizes you and lets out a sigh of relief. It's you, Brante. I'm so glad you're here. The bastards have burned down half the district and they are on their way here. He is cut short. The living room window is shattered. The torch lands at the floor. You quickly stamp out the flames. A battle is in full swing in the front yard. A massive crowd is furiously attacking your soldiers without any regard for their own safety. The looters are led by a rugged, half-naked old man clad in rags. Horrible scars on his wrists and ankles reveal his past as a convict. He yells frantically in your direction, his shrieks cutting through the din of the fray. Ringleader. The world is coming to an end. We disobeyed the twins and they're punishing us. There ain't no punishment worse than this, so there ain't nothing to fear. These are our last hours. Do whatever you want. The crowd bellows in support of the old man. Your soldiers fall one after another beneath the onslaught of the rabid gang. The twins have damned us all. We've been damned for your sins, you filthy nobles, you false priests. But before we face our final judgment, we'll dole out a little punishment of our own. We'll take our revenge on you before we die. Our judgment comet. The horde crushes your squad's resistance and approaches the house. The stomping of their feet shakes the windows. Your father looks at you in despair. They want to execute us. What do we do, son? Die for my home. Why would you choose this? Oh, I guess if you don't want to flee alone. Call in the troops. Because Nathan is hopeful. Oh, smart. The revolt will weaken. That's also good. We want that. You will sneak out and bring back reinforcements, but one of you will have to provide a distraction. Oh, does that mean that Nathan will die? But he can suffer a lesser death, right? Hopefully. You carefully peer out the window. The attackers are too many. Your small squad has already fallen. I don't know why I keep saying squad. I'm sorry. There is only one chance for you to protect your home. Call in reinforcements. You could sneak outside and dash to where your men are stationed. But if you are to return to something more than a heap of smoldering ash, someone must stall the attackers until help arrives. I'm afraid that if they see me, they won't even bother to talk, son. Nathan suddenly speaks from behind father. His voice is unusually firm. I go. I have something to tell them. Oh, look! He suddenly became unragged. He squares his shoulders, his gaze fixed resolutely before him. Is this really your little brother? Father blocks his way. No, Nathan. Come to your senses. You put your hand on father's shoulder. The family has always considered Nathan a failure, but you know that he is anything but. Let him speak to the crowd. Father steps aside, staring at his youngest son in astonishment. Nathan flings the door open and walks out to face the enraged horde. Hey! One of them came out on his own. Take him alive. Paying the old madman no heed, Nathan begins his speech. He speaks quietly, but sincerely, and the furious crowd soon falls into a strange stupor. Listen to me, people. I know you're suffering. I used to be just like your leader. I lost my faith in the twins. I thought they hated us, their own creation, and that was why they doomed us to eternal misery, both in this world and the next. But then the truth was revealed to me. I beheld the elder up close. Just as I see you now, I saw pity writ upon his face, and he gave me an omen. Let it be known that he has descended to this world again. He will behold our suffering. He will show us mercy. The world will not end. Upon hearing Nathan's words, the crowd murmurs in awe. Could one of the twins really be speaking through him? But we have no time to think. With the shout the backyard, several thugs await you there. Desperation lends you strength. You run past your foes, leap over the fence in a single bound, and land in the darkness of the back alley. Run, Brante. Don't stop. Your heart is pounding in your chest. You never knew you could run so fast. You just hope you are not too late. At last, you reach your troops. Frantically shouting orders, you assemble a large unit and immediately head back. When you finally return to the house, you hear furious cries. Nathan's sermon is being drowned out by the frantic shrieks of the false prophet. How long are you gonna listen to him, you fools? He's just a noble brat trying to bargain for a few more minutes to live. He ain't even a priest. You think the elder really spoke to him? It's all lie. What am I doing? The end of the world is nigh. No one can stop us anymore. Not the nobles, not the priests, not even the twins themselves. In our final hours, we're taking power into our hands. Feel our wrath. Brante family, we hereby sentence you to true death by fire. Not daring to defy the old man, the crowd is about to hurl torches into the house. This order... I guess you order your men to attack? Your squad rushes through the gate. The lowborn thugs are caught unaware, but their leader urges them to fight. The horde fights fiercely, sparing neither their enemies nor themselves. Your soldiers were not expecting such resistance from indigent rebel. You lead your troops forward relentlessly, but they take heavy casualties. Fight them. Punish them. We got nothing more to fear. The end times is already here. Hee hee. Axe in hand, the old madman rushes at Nathan as he calls out to the twins. To the foot of the pillar with ye, heretic. You shout at the top of your lungs. Nathan, run! The door swings open. Father dashes out to help his youngest son. The leader of the mob raises his axe, aiming for Nathan's head, but your brother just stares back at him, completely still. My brother? It was my friend. Oh, Nathan, as in my brother. I thought Stefan, sorry. Suddenly, the old man's hand begins to tremble. The weapon falls out from his fingers. He gapes into Nathan's eyes in bewilderment. A split second later, Father runs his sword straight through the man's throat with perfect precision. His voice booms above the battle. Run, you bastards, leave our home, and never come back. The mob hesitates. One by one, the looters drop their weapons and flee. If Nathan is right and the sun really will rise tomorrow, they still have much to lose. You have won. Breathing heavily, you exchange tired glances with your father and younger brother. You have defended your ancestral home. Father lowers his weapon with a sigh of relief. Brante, Nathan, I was so afraid I'd lose you both. Nathan smiles serenely, as though a bloody battle had not been waged in front of him. The twins love us, Father. Soon they will release this world from its suffering. You embrace your father and younger brother warmly. But you cannot stay any longer. The preparations for the decisive battle are not finished. I understand, son. Take care. I hope to see you again soon. May the twins protect you, brother. You leave part of your squad behind in case of another attack. You say your goodbyes and take off to face your fate. It is almost midnight. No troops? I mean handful of fighters, okay, that's bad. And also it's a bloodbath. Whoops. The family is safe though. The Brante family survives the night of the revolt. Here we go. Is this the end? The final hour. Let's look at this. Oh, we need more troops now. And nobles. I don't think we will get any of this. Actually, I doubt we can even win. It is mere moments from midnight. The glow of the shining pillar is barely visible behind the crimson clouds coming in from north. But the darkness hanging above the city is dissipated by countless lights. Crowds of people holding torches, stakes burning in the squares, houses in flames. The glow of the fires can also be seen from beyond the city walls. The legion marches down the road, inexorably approaching the gate of the city in the throes of rebellion. The final battle draws near. All the forces that have chosen to defy the Overseer and the Empire flock to the city gate. But you have set up your base. The soldiers of the last throw assemble commoners into squads and hastily arm them. Other rebels are led by nobles of the mantle and former members of the Legion who have joined the revolt. The priests who have sided with you will spread the word of the twins from city walls, attempting to convince the Legion soldiers to retreat and allow the people of Anisote to be free of the lots. Preparations are also in full swing at the camp of the defenders of the Old Order, who have established a foothold in the ruins of Charminanidas' palace. Soon their fate will be decided. Will they crush the revolt with the aid of the Legion, or be crushed by themselves by the new era? There is almost no time left, just enough for one last attempt to tip the scales in your favor. Will you spend this final hour appealing to one of your allies for help? Or would it be wiser to wait and muster your forces for the final battle? Will you attempt to defeat the Legion and the Overseer army in combat, or persuade them to retreating without engaging in battle? The fate of Anisote is in your hands. Well, this is all we can do. Which would gain us more noble, but I don't think we can do anything to change this, right? So let's do this. The prefect will help you win over the nobles who have yet to choose a side. There are many highborn families in Anisote that have not yet responded to Oton's appeal to join the noble militia. They have preferred to lock themselves up in their mansions and avoid waging war against the lowborn. They could still be won over to your side, but you will need help from a high-ranking nobleman. While there is still time, you take a few trusted men and head to the prefecture. Alborn greets you on the stairs, surrounded by gendarmes. He accepts your request eagerly. You're right, Brante. There are many nobles who are uncertain as to what fate will befall them if the revolt wins. We need to reassure them if we want to gain their support. With the help of the gendarmes, you send out an appeal to all the noble houses you consider dependable. Alborn signs the letters to each family personally. Noble sirs, you know me as a man of honor. I have been a loyal servant to the Overseer, but my ultimate duty is to uphold the law and ensure justice for all the estates. The high-handedness of the noble elite and their neglect of their lot, which is to rule the lowly estate with care and wisdom, has led the people of Anisote to the brink of despair. This is why I have sided with the revolt, and I encourage you to do the same. May it be known that once our victory has been achieved, none of you will face reprisal. I, Prefect Alborn, hereby swear that anyone who supports the revolt in word or deed will obtain a rightful place in the newly transformed city of Anisote. The messengers return one by one, bringing back news that noble families have agreed not to stand in the way of the revolt. Only a few of them leave Alborn's appeal unanswered. The support of the nobles will be of great value in the critical hours of the confrontation. Midnight strikes. You can hear the menacing tread of the Legion outside the city walls. The time has come. You order your troops to assemble and prepare to defend the wall. I think I failed. The battle for Anisote, Sophia is leading. The dark void beyond the walls of Anisote is lit by hundreds of lights. Heavy boots tread the soil, armor clanks, halberds gleam, drums beat a lively march. Lit by the glow of the torches, the Magran Legion approaches the city walls. Gaius Tempest himself leads the Legion. It is the Overseer's duty to crush the revolt this very night and pacify the city before news of the incident spreads throughout the Empire. If the Overseer's hesitation allows the revolt to last even a few days, it could jeopardize not only his position, but even the fate of the entire province that has been entrusted to him. Before ordering an assault, the Overseer sent a message to the city. My subjects, lay down your arms this instant and open the gate. I know that you have been deceived by the insurgency. You have my word as an Archnean ruler that I will spare anyone who aids the Legion and turns over the leaders of the revolt. Should you disobey this order from your lawful ruler, none of you will escape disgrace, execution, and eternal torment at the foot of the Shining Pillar. But the Overseer's threat only further enraged the rebels. An entire city rebelling against Imperial rule. Nothing like this has happened for generations. But not even experts in ancient history could have imagined what is happening on the streets of Anisote at this moment. The decisions you made today have led the entire city to rise up against Imperial rule. By nightfall, everyone who has ever suffered from noble tyranny has taken to the streets in support of the last straw. Even those who began the day covering in terror from the Overseer's wrath have now emerged from their homes and joined your cause. The commoners' fear has been eclipsed by their rage. They march through the city in droves, ready to dispense their own justice. By sunset, even the most loyal defenders of the Empire have come to realize that all hope is lost. The loyalties have amassed considerable forces at Charmilandra's palace, but they are too late. Hordes of furious commoners storm their camp, crushing any resistance. Exhausted and demoralized by the futile fight, many defenders of the old order flee mob justice or surrender and accept their death with dignity. The moans of those trampled by the incensed throng can be heard throughout the camp. Abandoned imperial banners are hurled into the fire. Make way! The crowd grows silent and parts before Sophia. The leader of the revolt is disheveled, her clothes stained with blood, but a predatory smile lingers on her face. Here, amidst fire and madness, she has finally found her place in the burg. Just look at your former masters now. Pathetic, ain't they? They thought they could put us in chains again, but they dropped their swords at the first sight of us. They lied to you for centuries, telling you it was your lot to suffer and break your back for them. But look who's suffering now. I give you my word. Tonight, we're gonna execute anyone who isn't on our side. Every single one of them. And then we'll feast among the ruins of the old world. The crowd roars, shaking their weapons in the air. Now the only thing standing between us and freedom is the Legion. But we'll take down the Overseer's troops, just like we took down the Emperor's lackeys here in Anisote. But first, we need to get rid of the rest of the enemies and traitors in this camp. Huh? Sophia takes a glance around the site of the recent massacre. Her merciless gaze stops at you. Brante. The time has come. This moment will determine your place in history. If you defy her, we die. You refuse to destroy your own city. In despair, you appeal to the crowd, asking them to renounce Sophia and stop the carnage. Remember, we cannot die anymore. That's the problem. Take charge of the bloodbath. There can be no mercy for the enemies of the revolt. You will be responsible for dispensing vigilant justice and defending the walls from the Legion. which will kill Gaius, but leave us alive. Or we could flee. You cannot change the outcome of the battle for Anisote, but it is not too late to save your own life. So this is happening no matter what. This will kill Gaius. And the massacre will happen. We will escape from the city. But what about our family? I don't want to do this. But I think this is the option we would get. Well, probably not either way. I kind of want to flee, but also not, because I think that would be a really boring ending. Like, you know, oh, Bronto left Anisote and yeah, everyone died. Nice, and now Sofia just wants to kill us. Oh boy, take charge of the bloodbath. You meet Sophia's gaze, you share her ruthless determination. Together, you will dispose of anyone who dares to stand in your way. The path you have chosen will lead to plenty of blood and suffering, but you are both ready. Your cause leaves no room for hesitation. You handle the executions, Bronto, but hurry, the Legion is about to attack. At least we don't have to worry about getting attacked from the rear. Go on, get your verdicts. I'll be waiting for you up on the walls. Leaving a small squad with you, Sophia rushes off to defend the gate. You eagerly get to work. Your soldiers dash around the wrecked camp and drag all the survivors to one spot. High-ranking nobles, inquisitors, commoners from the enemy militia, they are all thrown to the ground at your feet. You are surrounded by a horde of enraged commoners, desperate to strangle their enemies with their bare hands. You order them to restrain themselves. This is not how it is done. Do they want their enemies to come back from the hereafter and take revenge? You need the verdict of the people's court. At your order, the captives are lined up and forced to their knees. The crowd cheers in bloodthirsty anticipation, eager for the next execution. The gunmen raise their muskets. You address the people of Anisote, loudly announcing that these are enemies of their freedom who have dared to take up arms against the great cause of the revolt. What is their verdict? Through death. The gunmen take aim and fire, again and again, until the last of the captives fall, their bodies pierced by bullets. They twitch helplessly, then lie still. Meanwhile, you can hear the din of battle from the walls. Siege ladders fly up against the ramparts. The ground shakes with heavy tread of the Legion's iron boots. You must hurry. You assemble a squad and head toward the gate. It is slow going. Fires have blanketed Anisote in acrid smoke. The noble district are in flames, as is the chancellery. The temples of the Old Faith are ablaze, and priests who refuse to join the rebels are burned alive within. Bodies dressed in luxurious clothing float face down in the fountains. The bodies of those executed by firing squad lay in heaps by the walls. The cobblestones are littered with the corpses of those hurled from the windows of their own homes. The robbers loot the crypts of noble families, tossing ancient bones into the dirt. Right now, the streets are empty. Everyone capable of holding a weapon is rushing to defend the gate. By the time you arrive, the battle has already reached its peak. Deafening gunshots ring out from above. Brante, come here. We fought off the first attack. You clamber up onto the wall, giving orders as you go, as if placing toy soldiers. You almost bump into Sofia. She's excited. Her black from... Huh? She's black from gunpowder smoke, I guess. She squeezes your shoulder. We repelled the first attack, Bronto. That blue-faced bastard sent us a herald. Said we should lay down our arms and surrender. I shot him right in his head. Meanwhile, the overseer orders another assault. Take the wall. Come on, men, they're just commoners. They don't stand a chance against you. This time, Gaius Tempest sends 2 battalions of heavy infantry at the wall to the left. Wall to the left of the gate. They are followed by archers. Not even gunshots can stop this attack. The ladders fly up. A hail of arrows pelt your positions. Hold the line. I'll hit the archers. You hold the wall. Don't let them through. The defenders on the walls attempt to throw the ladders back, hurling stones at their assailants and pouring boiling oil on them. But the onslaught is too strong. One by one, the Legion soldiers begin to leap from their ladders and onto the city walls. If you falter now, all is lost. You gather your best men and send them against the Legion soldiers. The walls erupt into bloody mayhem. All over the walls, the bodies of the fallen fade into brilliant flashes of light. You and your soldiers desperately hack, shoot, and hurl enemies from the walls. The siege ladders fall to the ground below. The attack has been repelled. Twice more, Gaius Tempest orders his troops to attack the wall. Twice more, the walls are stained with blood. Twice more, your soldiers withstand the onslaught. The dawn is drawing near. Even from your position on the walls, you see the Legion soldiers slowly, hesitantly regrouping for their next attack. Desperate, the overseer himself steps forward to address his demoralized troops. Are you really afraid of some commoners who can barely hold a weapon? Don't fear them, you fools. Fear the wrath of your emperor. Fear the wrath of the Tempests. It is your sacred duty to re-establish imperial rule in Anisote. The city will fall, and this pathetic rebellion will be crushed. Go forth. I will lead the charge myself. The overseer raises his ancient sword high above his head. The Legion soldiers shudder. No member of the royal family has taken up arms in centuries. The first rays of the rising sun appear on the horizon, breaking through the grey storm clouds. Led by its royal commander, the Legion begins its decisive attack. Ragged, covered in blood, barely able to stand, you get the surviving soldiers back on their feet and order them to defend the city one last time. Not even the twins themselves could get through this gate. But the time for speeches has long passed. Now there is only smoke, blood, clanking of swords. Nah, you can just fight and win. You see the Imperial banner flutter before you. The Legion soldiers are scaling the wall, the overseer himself first among them. You and your men rush toward the banner. You will capture Gaius Tempest. Sensing that victory is close at hand, your warriors use their last ounce of strength to break through to the enemy commander. The legionnaires try to form a defensive ring around the overseer, but the enraged rebels dash them aside like toy soldiers. Gaius Tempest is surrounded, wielding his sword masterfully. He slays one of your soldiers after another. Sophia suddenly emerges from behind him, her furious visage aglow with sorcerer sparks. Freeze. Against his will, the Archnean nobleman stumbles and halts. It is now or never. You charge as your enemy and knock the blade from his hands. Still bound by Sophia's spell, Gaius Tempest stares at you in astonishment. A dozen soldiers pin him against the wall. Sophia stops beside you, casting a mocking glance at the defeated commander. Who's the master now, huh? The leader of the revolt picks up a fallen Imperial banner and tosses it off the edge of the wall. Down below, the soldiers of the Legion begin to flee. You have won. The surviving defenders on the walls lean against the Merlons, exhausted or simply collapse. Down by the gate, you hear triumphant shouts. Like a wave, they roll further over the streets and squares, over the entire city. Victory! Anisote has won its freedom. The overseer glares at you icily. There is genuine bitterness in his voice. Madman! You have doomed your city. It will be destroyed. I was not your enemy until you forced me to send my army against you. One step at a time, I would have changed this province. I would have made your lives better. But now the entire force of the Empire is about to come crashing down upon you. The punishment for your insolence will be terrible indeed. What was it all for? What do you hope to achieve? Freedom from butchers like you. Butchers like men? And what exactly do you think you are? You withstood my attack today. What? Do you want the entire world at war? What will become of the Empire after all your revolt? You look back at your city, crimson in the glow of the flames and the rays of the rising sun. You turn back to your former ruler. I want to burn it all down. Those who used to be in power will burn. The old regime will burn. The endless injustice the Empire is built on, it will all burn. Sophia grabs the captive commander by the neck and forces him to face the city. A massive crowd has gathered by the gate. Everyone is watching, waiting to see what will become of the overseer. See? See how many of us there are? Our day is done. Say bye-bye to your power, Blueface. Okay, so she's also racist. Sophia raises a fist in the air and proclaims victory before the entire city. People of Anisote, we've won. Nothing in the Empire can stop us now. But remember, this was just the beginning. Next, we're gonna put the whole Empire on trial. The first person we're gonna judge is Gaius Tempest, your former overseer, and the Emperor's brother. Know all about his crimes against you. What is your verdict, people of Anisote? The fateful words roll through the square like thunder. Through death. Cannot be. The law is divine. Only the twins can grant the right to judge. Sophia hands you a dagger. Brante will carry out the sentence. Raising the blade aloft, you step toward Gaius Tempest as he kneels before you. The crowd roars. Strength beyond imagining surges through your arm. With one swift motion, you slit the former overseer's throat. The royal blood runs down your fingers. The man, who just yesterday was one of the most powerful Archnians in the Empire, collapses at your feet. You raise the bloody dagger high in the air. The Empire has been sentenced to death. Time stands still. You look back at the years gone by, all the difficult decisions you had to make, all the actions that helped you take your place in history. You have put an end to the old era with your own hand. Your destiny has been fulfilled. He's dead. The Overseer is dead. Go, people, there are plenty of enemies left in this city. It's high time they learn the true meaning of suffering. Find them, capture them, and execute them. Brante will lead you. The bloody procession begins to scour Anisote for enemies of the revolt. Once the city is purged, it will continue its march from province to province. In time, it will reach the capital, and then the throne of the Emperor himself. And you are in command of it.
Fire and blood engulfed the streets of Anisote before spreading to the rest of the Empire.
New day dawns. This is because we didn't escape. It is morning. You stumble along a now empty back street, utterly exhausted after the most trying night of your life. An elderly stranger in a threadbare cloak shambles down the road in the opposite direction. The old man looks around cautiously at every step, seemingly struggling to remember where he is going. As you approach him, he suddenly stops and speaks to you. Good morning to you. You slow down for the old man and wearily return his greeting. May I ask you for a favor, my friend? You barely have any energy to waste today, but there is something about this old stranger's voice that compels you to listen. A favor? What kind of favor? Well, my brother and I had a disagreement, you see, and I want to know who was right. My brother says this world is already perfect as it is. The twins made it like this after all. The old stranger pauses, casting a glance over the street. The charred carcasses of buildings and homes. The overturned carriages, the dried bloodstains, and the paving stones. And I told my brother that, no matter what their initial design may have been, the world as it is now needs to change. So then my brother asked me, what exactly needs changing? But I had no answer for him. So here I am, wandering around, tormented by this question. Would you help us settle our dispute, my good man? Who's in the right here, me or my brother? If you were in the twins' place, what would you do? What about this world needs changing? You know who he is. I only just realized it. This is the elder. Huh. I see. So it all relies on Nathan, this one. This is definitely the elder. The twins' creation is nothing more than a monstrous cage, a dark dungeon that dooms mortals to a life of suffering. If you had made this world, you would destroy it with your hands. The twins did I guess I should read these out, sorry. Say you would grant the world forgiveness. Life is a long road, and mistakes are inevitable. The twins ought to grant mortals hope for forgiveness. Say you would leave the world alone. The twins did create the world, but now they ought to leave their creation in peace and refrain from meddling in the affairs of men. Say you would take better care of the world. The twins should never have been so distant from their creation. Mortals need their care, assistance, and supervision. Say you would free mortals from the lots. If it were up to you, you would make it known that everyone is free to choose their own lot and their own path to the twins. Say you would destroy the world, which you did, or say nothing and walk away. These are all kind of good options. The twins should never have been so distant. They weren't really distant. I think this should be the best one. But as we discussed earlier, that would create, like, everyone would be just want to be a noble, no? As I said earlier. Definitely not gonna say I don't think they should leave. They would take better care of the world. A deep sigh escapes as you meet the old man's gaze. You have an answer ready. The twins granted mortals a tiny portion of their will, and therein lies the root of the paradox. There is no way the divine law can coexist with the freedom to escape it. Even the most righteous people eventually come into conflict with the divine design and suffer for it. You have seen it time and time again. Man was made free. This cannot be changed. But people, such as they are, need a watchful eye. Someone to care for them, someone to watch over them. They do not need judges. They need loving parents. If you were the twins, you would look after your children. You would care for them and protect them for themselves. You would keep them safe from all the mistakes they make when the twins remain silent. The elderly man listens carefully to your every word, a look of endless sorrow on his face. His bright eyes are filled with tears. I can feel the pain and the truth in your words. Thank you, Brante, for settling our disagreement. The elderly man pats you on the head like a doting father and slowly walks away. Wait, how did he know your name? You spin around, but the street is empty. Outcome of the revolt. It only took a few days for the entire empire to learn of the revolt and the events that had transpired in Anisote. The unthinkable victory of the common folk over the war engine that was the Imperial Legion. The ruthless and fearsome leaders of the rebellion. The terrifying slaughter of the nobles, priests, and anyone else who stood in the insurgents' way. By the end of the second day, the revolt had reduced the city of Anisote to a charred, smoldering ruin. Thick, acrid smoke from burning buildings and gunpowder blanketed the city. Bodies swung from ropes on every street. The results of the justice of the people's court, sprawled, abandoned, lead-riddled corpses, could be found in every square. The events of those days entered the annals of history as the Great Anisote Massacre. But the rebels were not content. Having purged all their enemies from Anisote, they immediately began to march across the province. Every town and village in their way was freed from the noble rule. As the landowners fled in terror, the commoners abandoned their homes and armed themselves to fight beneath the banner of the last throne. The rebel army grew larger and stronger by the day, to begin their bloody campaign of destruction. Wherever the rebels march, the old ways of the empire collapse. They have no mercy, leaving nothing behind but smoldering ruins and the ashes of the dead. Age-old traditions burn as their ravenous flames consume town after town, city after city. The old noble dynasties are amassing their own armies beneath the banner of the Tempest to fight off this chaos. But the rebel hordes are already approaching the capital. There is no stopping them. Sophia's dream of waging war against the old world has begun. Regardless of the outcome, the Empire will never be the same again. Power. The bloodthirsty march of the rebellion obliterated any semblance of the rule of law in Magra. The last straw and its followers massacred all the old rulers, leaving chaos and anarchy in their wake. It was only inevitable that the province would fall into the hands of outlaws and marauders. The old ways are gone, but can the people of Magra build something new in their place? The new faith has prevailed at last. Now everyone in Magra knows that the old faith is a lie, perpetuated by the church authorities to doom people to suffer in life and death. The teachings of Isetis must be eradicated forever. New faith fanatics hunt down and judge the priests who still have the gall to preach the old faith. Everyone must undergo the new sacrament and break free of their past lot or face death in the flames. The crises of the past few years have annihilated the province's former prosperity. The fertile fields have been scorched, the mines have been abandoned, the factories stand idle with no one to work in them. The looming threat of hunger and poverty drives the people to backbreaking labor and the tried and true ways of their ancestors. Commoners flee the cities in droves and flock to villages and towns, hoping to squeeze some paltry nourishment from the inhospitable Magran soil. The province is on the verge of starvation and turmoil. The years of unrest have left a mark on Magra. People no longer fear or respect the rule of law. Disorder continues to spread throughout the land. The only thing capable of maintaining an unsteady balance is brute force, as carnage, riots, and disdain for the law continue to plague the province. It will be a long time before Magra has a chance at peace again. Divine Omens. The Anisote revolt was followed by more omens that shook the empire. The shining pillar grew closer and closer, its ever-present light becoming strong enough to be seen under any sky, even through the thickest clouds. Those who prayed to the twins soon realized that they were listening carefully to their every word and deed. The twins will watch over the blessed Archean Empire and tend to it for all time. What became of Darius Othon? The Archean commander fought with all his might against the rebellious rebel he so despised, yet even a skilled swordsman such as he was doomed when confronted with a citywide uprising. The haughty Archean became Sophia's prisoner, and so his life was forfeit. He spent his final moments in inconceivable agony. Sophia did not permit him to die until his spirit and body were completely and utterly broken. Long after the once invincible Dorius Autumn was no more, the corpse of the mighty Archon remained chained to the Anisot gate. What became of Ulrich? Ulrich took advantage of the chaos that had gripped Anisot and the painful schism within the ranks of the Inquisition to easily evade pursuit. The heretical Inquisitor is still at large, preaching his doctrine somewhere on the edge of the Empire, forcing the village sacrament upon more and more new adepts. The profane heresy survived and now it bides time, waiting to re-emerge, and someday, somewhere, it will. What became of Augustin Elborn? When Prefect Augustin Elborn saw firsthand the atrocities being committed on the streets of Anisote, he did what he could to urge the people to stop Sophia and her henchmen by any means necessary. But it was too late. In the end, Elborn shared the same fate as the Lastrow's other enemies. The former judge faced death with dignity, showing no fear before the rebels' muskets. His face expressed only deep, bitter sorrow. Sir Elborn is remembered as one of the ringleaders of the Anisote massacre and the bloodthirsty rebellion that poisoned the entire empire. What became of Father Leonard? Leonard railed furiously against the murderous executions perpetrated by Sophia. In an effort to end the massacre, he sought to reconcile the opposing factions. Leonard was labeled an enemy of the revolt. For crimes against the great cause, the People's Court sentenced him to death along with its other perceived foes. He spent his final moments in prayer, tormented by the realization that he had unwillingly helped to precipitate this terrible slaughter. Leonard is remembered by the new believers as the greatest preacher of his day, but among old believers he left an undying legacy as a nemesis of the Church who violated the twins' divine design. Became of Thomas. By the time the revolt had set Anisote ablaze, Thomas Guerrero was already living a new life with his family far from the city. It seemed as though he could finally enjoy a peaceful life. But a few months later, the rebellion reached the sleepy village where your friend and his wife had put down roots. The horde of rebels approached the village where they lived, and most of the villagers joined them, eager to loot and pillage their very own community. Thomas fought desperately for his life and livelihood, but he was torn limb from limb by his former neighbors. What became of Jean? The Divine Reckoning caught up with Jean by the temple at the Silver Tree, the very temple where you and she had first met. The staunch old believer was defeated. Her soul departed to the twins to face their final judgment. What became of Sophia? Ever since she was young, Sophia had been the living embodiment of hatred, the spawn of every hideous injustice committed in the Empire. Who prevailed in struggle for Anisote, and that victory finally revered her true power. As Sophia casts her shadow over every corner of the Empire, her eyes blazing with yellow flame, eager to incinerate every army and province in her path. No one can stop Sophia and defeat her bloodthirsty hordes. After the victory in Anisote, the inveterate rebel began a brutal war against the old order, a war that had seemed utterly unthinkable just a few years ago, a war of annihilation. Sophia is remembered as the woman who destroyed the blessed Archonian Empire and burned the old world to the ground. Can I just say, this is almost as a bad ending as Game of Thrones. Almost. And that, Sophia, I don't think I have to point out that it's clearly Daenerys. What became of the Brante family? You defended your home from a gang of thugs, but nothing could protect your family from the doom that awaited them soon after. When the massacre began, every single member of the Brante family was murdered. The Brantes never sided with the rebellion. They paid a terrible price for it. The Brante estate was razed to the ground. All who lived within its walls are dead, murdered by the ruthless mob and condemned by the People's Court. Even the family crypt was desecrated and destroyed. Committing blasphemy and defiling the final resting place of the dead meant nothing to the crazed looters. The ignoble fate of the Brante family became a tragic tale told among the people for years to come. What became of Robert Brante? Your father fought to his last breath to protect his home against a horde of Sophia's bloodthirsty followers in what came to be known as the Anisote Massacre. But in the end, he suffered the same fate as all other enemies of the revolt. In accordance with the verdict of the People's Court, Robert Brante was torn apart by the rabid mob. What became of Lydia Brante? Your mother passed away from illness long before these events transpired. Lydia Brante was not there to see what became of her family. What became of Stefan Brante? Having severed all ties with the family, Stefan had no reason to remain in Azote. After abandoning his aspirations for the Brante bloodline, he fully dedicated himself to his own ambitions. The former brother took on a new name, Stefan Alborn. He moved to the capital and began working hard to earn himself a place in the Emperor's court. But in the end, Stefan was too plain-spoken to survive in the realm of courtly intrigue. His bold and ambitious nature swiftly earned him a plethora of enemies at court. Before long, he was falsely accused of plotting against the crown. Stefan's attempts to exonerate himself proved futile, and his life and honor met an ignoble end. What became of Gloria? Until the very end, Gloria boldly believed that she could convince the rebels surrounding your home that the Brantes were their allies. But when the violence began, she finally realized that the time for words had passed. Desperate to protect Robert, she threw herself at the incensed mob attacking her home. But thugs easily seized the unarmed woman and forced her to her knees to carry out the sentence of the People's Court. When the family home was looted and abandoned, her poems were lost to oblivion. Future generations will not know the works of Gloria Brante. What became of Nathan Brante? Nathan accepted his death at the hands of a frenzied mob. He did not resist. The realization that the world had nothing to offer him but suffering killed your younger brother's spirit long before his final death. He departed to the twins to face the ultimate punishment for all the sins he had committed. What became of Gregor Brante? Not even in the afterlife did Gregor Brante see the realization of his great dream. His descendants failed to have the Brante name ennobled by the sword. The Brante bloodline was denied its chance to become one of the Empire's most eminent dynasties. The blood tide ushered in by Gregor Brante would never have another chance at immortality. What became of you? Side by side with Sophia, you began the march against the old ways, and the rebellious horse followed you. No one remembered your old name any longer, but your new name instilled terror in every corner of the Empire. The Butcher of Anisote. The cruelty with which you dispatched your enemies became the stuff of legend. Along the way, you faced many powerful foes and crushed them all, free from fear of death, unafraid of the twins' judgment. Again and again, you emerged from the flames to bring the common folk the freedom they so coveted, and they fought for you until they bled their last. You, the Butcher of Anisote, became a flame that incinerated the monstrous, decrepit husk of an empire until nothing remained. But it was not your fate to see whether or not a new world would rise from the ashes of the old. So ends the life and suffering of Bronto Brante. The hour of your death has come. Your soul has left your body, never to return. You are taken to the peak of the shining pillar. Every moment separates you more and more from the mortal realm. The link that once bound you to it is gone forever. Look up to see two divine visages watching you intently. The elder twin gazes upon you, full of sorrow and compassion. The younger examines you dispassionately, seeing your every act and thought. You have ascended from the mortal realm. From here you are but one step away from partaking in eternal bliss atop the peak of the shining pillar. But first, you must be judged by them, just as every other soul born in this world has been judged, since time immemorial. Only their judgment can decide whether you deserve to remain atop the peak or be hurled down to the foot. You stand before the twins. Your very essence is laid bare before them, all the secrets of your inner self revealed in full. Your soul is like an open book to them, one that preserves the story of your entire life. You lie prostrate before the gods. The time has come to take responsibility for your mortal life. The elder twin asks, are you thankful to the gods for the life you lived? Okay, so this is obviously what happened before, but we reached the end of the line either way, so might as well read it out again. You staunchly accept everything that happened to you in the world the twins created. Your life was your life. Or regret? I guess I regret it. But I don't really. I will remain calm. They hear your answer. Compassion and remorse fill the immeasurably deep eyes of the elder twin. He turns to face his divine brother, who returns his gaze with an expression of stern remorse. The elder twin asks once more, what was your life to you? Empathy again. Your life was dedicated to other people and your relationships with them. You changed them and they changed you. The elder twin bows his head warily, considering your response, but the stern visage of the younger already looms above you. Human by the name of Brante, what did you live for? Happiness. The younger's gaze lingers on your bare, defenseless soul. The divine figure continues its stern interrogation. What do you leave behind? Change. The younger twin now moves toward you with clear intent, poised to render his judgment. But the elder twin restrains his brother with a gesture. The divine voice fills you once again. Did your life make the world be made better and more perfect? It became worse, or it cannot be changed. Did it become worse? Yes. We unleashed terrorism. The younger twin is silent, his eyes two swords piercing your soul. The elder twin speaks to you again. But you already know the question, the very same question that caused you so much suffering shortly before your true and final death. What determined your destiny? Me? But also the world around me. I think the world around me more so than myself, because if I had a clear choice, then but that's also my fault, so it was me. Like, take the blame, don't blame it on others, right? The twin gods exchange a glance that lasts a brief moment and all eternity. Then the hand of the elder twin reaches out to you, glowing with light and warmth. The gods offer you an unprecedented opportunity to change your destiny, to rewrite the book of your life. Would you like to take a different path in life? No, my life is over. You will face whatever awaits you with no regrets. You reject the hand of the elder. The immense divine silhouette withdraws in sorrow. The younger twin steps forward, leaving you to face his law alone. The twin's judgment is nearing its end. The soul of a man named Brante lies prostrate at your feet. You have witnessed his entire life, known his every act, seen his every thought and desire. No other soul could ever walk the same path. So many difficult choices, so many emotions, so much pain. Another soul awaits your judgment. You know no mercy, nor does your brother. Every mortal must walk the path chosen for him to the very end. Those who abide by the precepts set forth by you and your brother shall return to you and become a part of you. Those who reject you shall know the eternal suffering of oblivion. Where does the man named Brante belong? The foot of the pillar. The sword strikes, the blade mercilessly slices a minuscule soul in twain. It shatters into a multitude of sparks. Each of these sparks was once a dream, a deed, a thought, a hope. The sparks fly down to the foot of the shining pillar, to the eternal darkness of non-being. The lonely light is slowly extinguished. The man named Brante is no more. He has finally come to know true suffering. He has become nothing. So, needless to explain, or maybe you guys can help me. We were the younger all along, weren't we? I mean, if that wasn't clear enough. We sort of got hints to that before, in the middle of the game. Am I happy it turned out this way? No, not at all. Could I have changed it with the priest path and with our previous choices? I don't really think so. I kind of think that... Oh, maybe if we had family unity high, then we could have somehow asked someone in the family to get some noble support, and then we could have overthrown Sophia and had a peaceful resolution. Sever. What a great game. I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. It's unique. I haven't really played something like this. I played like Choose Your Own Adventure. Well, not even full books because I never had any. I just had like parts of it, like in like gaming magazines, or I don't even really know what magazines were. And my friends would bring them over, but I didn't have them for long enough time to try them out. This was unique, enjoyable, especially during the early story. A lot of stuff reminded me to my own life. It's like dark, emotional, melancholic, depressive story. Right up my alley. I mean, I say right up my alley. I usually repress my emotions like that because, you know, who likes to feel that way? But sometimes when you let it out, it can be used to build something better on it. Yeah, not sure what's next. That's the thing. So, if you watch this whole thing from start to finish, I thank you very much. You've probably seen how small my channel is at the point of recording. And given that, the view count on these episodes and the percentage of how much you guys watched are kind of crazy. I know it will not stay because, you know, game over. I will play some other games that probably not too many of you are interested in. I usually try and find unique games, but not too much of them are like YouTube worthy, or others like much bigger people on the internet are playing them already. So there's not much point of me also doing that because, you know, I mean, I play games not because of the views, but There are some games that I would decide on that is it worth it? Like, would I enjoy this game playing it on my own just for the sake of playing? Then yes, I will put it up on the channel. But if the deciding factor is like, is it really popular? Like, do I need to play this even if I don't enjoy it fully? You know what I'm saying? Oh boy. So anyway, thank you. The support on these once again was grateful. And I will probably have these last 2 episodes cut into 2 parts. I mean, last 1 episode cut into 2 parts because it's like more than 2 hours of recording, and that might be too much to digest. And if people look at it, it would be like, oh hell no, I'm not gonna click that because it's 2 hours. Hope you enjoyed, and yeah, that's that. If you guys want to stay around, well, see you later, and if not, have a good one. See ya. Bye bye.